On detention policy, I would argue the administration's detention policy has, quite frankly, been a failure. How many people have we captured and interrogated under the law of war? Every time we capture a terrorist, if we don't kill them, there's just been a handful, we bring them into the civilian court system and read them their rights. That's got to stop. Now, about Guantanamo Bay. It's not about the location of the jail. I don't mind if we try to find a place to move it into the United States. What I want is a legal system consistent with being at war, and the reason we haven't closed Guantanamo Bay is we don't have a plan to close it. And you need a plan. You need a plan that would reassure the American public that we're not talking about dealing with people who robbed a liquor store, but terrorists. And we're going to have a legal system that would allow some to be tried in military court, some to be tried in federal civilian court where appropriate, some to be released when appropriate, and yes, some to be held under the law of war, because if we let them back out into the system, they will kill us. 28% recidivism rate, law of war detention only makes sense if you're at war. Under domestic criminal law, you cannot hold anyone indefinitely under criminal law, nor should you be allowed to. But when you're at war and you capture a prisoner, you can hold that prisoner as long as they're a threat. The problem with this war, it would be a war without end. So we got to find some long-term detention review policies to deal with the law of war captures so they get more due process. But I will not sit on the sidelines and embrace the option. You either try them or let them go, because that's a false choice and a dangerous choice. About the overarching theme that you can't kill your way into safety and win the war through killing, count me in for that concept. But Mr. President, what you say and what you do are totally disconnected. You talk about supporting democracies and countries in transition that are trying to reject radical Islam, but your actions speak louder than your words. Iraq was a country that went through hell, was inside the 10-yard line. The surge did work, and it's falling apart because the president chose not to leave any American soldiers behind when 10 or 12,000 would have made a difference. So, Mr. President, I agree with the concept that we have to stand by those in the region and give them capacity where they have the will, because we can't kill our way to safety. But when you're given the choices, you made a poor choice in Iraq, and you've undercut our commanders 4 times in Afghanistan. What I hope to find is that the president's words will match his deeds. There are parts of this speech that I could have given. You cannot kill your way to victory. You have to help those who will be willing to live in peace with you. But our track record in Syria, Iraq, and Afghanistan is very disturbing. So I would just end with this thought about drones. I've stood by this president because it's a technology that makes sense. There are parts of this world that are ungoverned, and we don't have any troops, and a drone is the best way to protect us and our allies against radical Islamic terrorists. I would like it to be more transparent, and if you want to send it over to DOD, I won't object if you can prove to me we're still going to use the technology to make us safe. I believe we're in a war that's not winding down. We're in a war that's morphing. And the theme of the speech was that this war is winding down. I have relentlessly pursued the al-Qaeda leadership. There is no justification beyond politics for Congress to prevent us from closing a facility that should never have been opened. The justification for closing Gitmo is that we've destroyed the al-Qaeda leadership and been relentless in our pursuit of terrorists. That is not a good justification, because that is not true. The enemy is morphing. It is spreading. There are more theaters of conflict today than they've been in several years. And our policy towards Syria and Iraq, our indecision about leaving troops in Afghanistan, is creating instability. Our allies are more afraid than I've ever seen, and our enemies more emboldened. I support the concepts that the president talks about in many ways, but if he doesn't change his policies, the Middle East is going to blow up, and we're going to get hit again here at home. No matter how hard we try, we could get hit anyway. But we are setting in motion policies that I think make it more likely that embassies and consulates will be attacked in the Mideast, and terrorism is on the rise in our backyard. And I will end with this thought. We told President Bush to his face in 2006, Mr. President, your policies are not working in Iraq. To President Obama, your foreign policy is not working. You need to adjust it. Senator A. out.